something to eat. Wow, and on Food Pantry Sunday and Family Sunday Dinner Sunday, and one of our fortes, one of our gifts. I thought about titling this, Give Them Something to Eat. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought it's really about all of us having something to eat. When you look at the scripture passage, the very first part of it is the apostles gathered around Jesus. Imagine what that must have been like. And they told him all they had done and taught. Teacher, we went out and we told people the things that you've done. And we taught them to feed each other. And we taught them that we all need to be in right relation with each other. And we taught them that you told us, however and whenever and however you take care of the least of mine, you have done that for me. And they're all excited. They're all excited. It's like little kids coming back after Halloween and showing what's in the bags. You know? This is what we got from what we did. And he says to them, come away to a deserted place all by yourselves and rest a while. I cannot tell you how that line spoke to me this week. Because God is inviting us to step away from all the craziness that gets created around us. To come into this space and to be with each other, but to be with Jesus Christ here with us. I asked you earlier to imagine yourselves in the Arctic on a glacier where it's cool. Imagine yourselves with Jesus sitting here amidst us, saying, come away with me. Spend some time in my presence and rest. Because that's where we find our rest. We don't find it in all the things we get busy about, even the fun things we get busy about. But it's putting down the cell phone with all the games on it. Ask Mary, I have tons. It's turning off the email. It's leaving behind anything that could be distraction. And spending time resting in the Lord. When I was in the convent, I had a friend who used to do that all the time. Most of the time, the older sisters thought she was asleep. But she would say, I'm just resting in the Lord. I invite you, if you haven't done it this past week, to this week be intentional about taking some time away from the busyness that is all of ours, and just spend a little bit of time with the God who created you, who called you by name, who chose you as God's own beloved. Just spend some time, and you will find your hearts resting in the Lord. He goes on to say, for many were coming and going, and they had no leisure even to eat. Have you had days like that? You know what that's like. So many people need you for something. And you know what? They do. They do. But sometimes we have to say, you know what? time out. I just need a little bit of time to get some. I told you I'm reading a book by Kate and Bruce Epperly on pastor burnout. It's called Heart of Fire or something. Just go up in flame. But what they talk about that, that just set that time aside and watch yourselves be refreshed. Take the leisure. We don't do that. Take the leisure. When we moved in here and y'all gave me an office, and for which I am so grateful, I thought about getting a sign. You know how many of those cute little signs in the bathrooms about the septic system? I thought about getting a sign for my door that said, Pastor Praying, come back. But then I thought, no, that's not what it should say. It should say, Pastor Praying, come in. Come in and pray. Even if we just sit there together in the presence of Jesus. Take a breath. Ask Debbie LaKenta how many times this past week I texted her and said, breathe, breathe, breathe.
Amen.
Do you know that we stop breathing when something stresses us? That we literally, physically hold our breath. Oh gosh, how can we breathe in the Spirit if we're holding our breath and not letting Spirit in? And it's part of what this is about. But here's the rest of what this is about. So they go away to the deserted place, and they take Joe and Scott's boat, and apparently it's very slow, because the people walking get there before they do. Or maybe they just didn't stop as many watering holes as you guys stopped at. I don't know. They went away in a boat to a deserted place by themselves. But then the crowd found them. If it seems a little disjointed, I'm trying to skip stuff. And here's what I think is the next big point. As Jesus goes ashore, he saw a great crowd and he had compassion for them. If you are answering God's call to be God's heart and hands in this world, you know what that's like. You know what it's like to say, God, I just need 5 minutes with you. That's all I need, just 5. And then somebody calls, and we all have caller ID now, and we have to make a decision. If I don't answer when you call me, it's because my ringer is turned off. Because a game that someone taught me, Gummy Drop, makes this incredible noise when it wants to play with me. So, we won't mention any names. But, so my ringer gets turned off, so I have to watch for it to ring. So I'm not doing a caller ID thing and not answering your call. But quite honestly, isn't that what happens? You say to yourself, I just need 10 minutes to be alone. And then somebody knocks on your door wherever you are, whether it's your office or your room at home or wherever your sacred space is, and they go, you know what? So-and-so's on the phone. I'm not talking about business, though. I'm not talking about business. I'm not talking about you're going to get fired if you don't answer the boss's phone call. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about compassion. When you hear who it is and you say, you know what? I need this time in the deserted place, but this person needs me too. And you make that choice. This week, we prayed a lot. I was thinking about it yesterday, and I just wrote down some of the things I know we prayed for this week as Faith Family. For a mother and daughter who were in court. For a young man, I use the word young loosely, Julian, okay? You're younger than me. Working to finish the stuff he started on his house. For a daughter worried about her father in a nursing home. For a sister traveling to visit her sister whose husband had just died. for a spouse concerned about his partner's health, for a congregant worried that a friend was not taking care of himself. And those were just the ones I could remember. And as I thought about all those things that I prayed for this week, I know you all were praying too. Some called, some wrote and said, I'm praying for this or I'm praying for that. What a difference your prayer and your compassion. Compassion, the word that means in Latin to suffer with someone else. What a difference they made in someone's life this week. And how about those times that you, like I, prayed for the person who most needs my prayer at this moment? How about that person? Maybe he or she was among us. Maybe he or she was in Chattanooga. Maybe he or she was someplace around the world. We don't know. But think about that holy moment when you stopped whatever it was you were doing, even for 10 seconds, to say, God, may my prayer at this moment be for that person in this world who so needs it right now. I know people have made that difference in my life. And some of you have written and told me that, and I thank you for that. That you stop and say, for our pastor too. Carolyn Lewis writes that compassion is not just a feeling, but a doing. And I think we get that. It's just like love is not a feeling. Love is an active verb, and so is compassion. She says it's the gut feeling that causes you to go outside yourself. I had someone come up to me last Sunday after service and say, I know so-and-so is going to be really busy this week, but I'm really concerned about her. So after the court date, could you just call me and let me know what happened? I don't want to bother her. I know what her heart's going to be like. I know what her life's going to be like. Do you know what that does to a pastor's heart to have somebody come up and ask that? It's so amazing how this family takes care of one another and everybody who comes through these doors and everybody who doesn't come through these doors but is touched by your prayer for that person who most needs my prayer at this moment. I get up early. I also have insomnia. And so I watch things at 2, 3, and 4 o'clock in the morning that maybe you have missed, so let me share some of them with you. One of them is called, I'm not sure if I have the title right up to the minute or just this minute or something like that. Anyway, it was on at 4 this morning. And it had two stories that I thought were about compassion. And one was by, it was put there by a group called Animal Aid, and they showed this dog that was so emaciated and was so filled with mange that you almost couldn't recognize it as a dog. And you probably, at least I couldn't believe it was still alive. And you know what? They washed that dog with such tenderness over and over and over. And they fed him little bits of food at a time. And at the end of the segment, they showed him, and you would not believe it was the same animal. That's compassion. There was another story, and it so touched my heart. It was a little boy, probably 2 or 3. It was in Nepal, and he had a goat on a rope, a little tiny goat. A goat like, can you hear me, Michael? A goat that was about to be sacrificed in a tradition that's an age-old tradition in his culture and his country. And the little boy took that goat and he kept saying, no, don't cut my goat. No, don't hurt my goat. No, don't cut my goat. And the commentator said, can one child's voice, one child's plea, stop this age-old tradition of sacrificing the animals. And his father ran after him, and he's pulling the goat, and he's climbing up this little rocky ledge, and he's taking the goat with him, and he's crying, "Don't take my goat." And his dad says, "We won't cut your goat. We won't hurt your goat. We can't change what already happened, but we won't do this again." Think about it. A 2-year-old got what compassion was. You know what? We get it too. We get it too. And I think that's the second piece of what this passage is about. And I think the third piece for us of what this passage is about is it's about miracles. It's about people are hungry everywhere. And then somebody, some group of people does what Jesus asks them to do. They pray. They pray, and some miracle happens. Alice McKenzie, one of the other commentators I read, says, "I've never felt the compassion to do away with the miracle stories, and I want to demystify them. Instead of demystifying a miracle story, let's see what happens with a little when the power of God is behind it. Let's see what happens with a little when the power of God is behind it." And I think about that, and I think about this little congregation. It's a little congregation right now that Jesus called. But the power of Jesus Christ and the love of God is behind us, even as it's before us and around us and surrounds us. What happens with a little when the power of God is behind it? There's a little food pantry at the end of this building called the No Judgment Zone. I suspect many of us brought food to replenish that which was needed this past week. Alice McKenzie says, let's remember Jesus' version of the potluck, which we're having today as well. She says the potluck that Jesus had was also known as the Lord's Supper. When God is doing in and through us things we could not do on our own. We all are the folks of miracles because we are the folks of compassion. Because we know that something to eat means first we replenish our souls and hearts in prayer, in solitude, so that we can reach out to those who need that miracle. One of our miracles has been postponed to August 20th. We need to make sure that miracle happens. There are other miracles in this family that need to happen. And we all, being persons of compassion and persons who were called to give them something to eat, don't send them away. Teacher, let us send them away into the country and the villages where they can buy something to eat. No, don't send them away. Feed them yourselves. So let us give ourselves, one another, and all those who need it and come to us somehow in our space and place, something to eat this day and all days. You are blessing, truly blessing. Amen.